In today's episode of the Pathway Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Vijay. He is hailing over from the team at Blockthrough, and Blockthrough is a market leader in the ad block revenue recovery space. So we really want to deep dive into what Blockthrough is all about, what they're doing, how they're serving their customers, but also obviously how Vijay is thinking about growth for the company. So Vijay, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Lucas. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, no worries at all. So before we, even jump into things, maybe, tell us about the business. Like, what is it all about in your own words?
So Blockthrough is an advertising technology company that helps publishers recover the revenue that they would otherwise lose due to ad blocking. We work with some of the largest publishers in the world, including brands like Healthline, Cafe Media, Freestar, Future PLC, and AccuWeather. Our product works by serving a light advertising experience that's compliant with acceptable ads, which is an industry ad specifications standard to ad block users who have opted in to receive such an experience. This is a low friction path for monetizing ad block users while respecting their choice and experience. I say low friction because most publishers already have the infrastructure required for ad serving. But here's the challenge. Publishers don't always have the tools needed to ensure compliance with the various rules and requirements of acceptable ads. And that's where we come in. Blockthrough provides the technology needed to filter ads based on whether or not they comply with acceptable ads. Basically, we give publishers a switch that they can just turn on to start recovering revenue using their existing ad serving infrastructure. Instead of having to study the standard, block non-compliant ad formats and placements, monitor compliance rates, manage fill rates and yield, and all that tedious stuff that requires a lot of engineering time and fine-tuning to get right. In the last 2 years, we've helped our customers recover $80 million in advertising revenue and gone from being a small team to a globally distributed 45-member workforce. In fact, last year, Blockthrough was ranked 11th on the list of the fastest growing companies in Canada by the Globe and Mail.
Very cool. That gives us definitely an overview of what you guys are all about. Maybe tell me a little bit about the companies and the people that benefit most from the business. Like, what would be sort of a typical client that benefits the most from your offering?
Yeah. So, I want to talk about ad block users first, because in a way, they are the end users of our product. We create an annual report on ad blocking, whose first edition was published in 2013 by PageFair, a company that we acquired a few years ago. In fact, the 2020 edition was just released and is now available on our website. Basically, we spend a lot of time, effort, and money into understanding what ad block users really want, what motivates them, their likes and dislikes, etc. The number one trend that we see consistently across time is that avoiding interruptions is the number one reason users install ad blockers. These users don't like pre-roll video ads on YouTube. They don't like animated ads. They don't like ads with auto-playing audio. And they definitely don't like publishers interrupting them with pop-ups, requesting them to disable the one tool that protects them from all these bad experiences. There's a common misconception that because they installed ad blockers, all ad block users must hate all ads, right? The truth is a little more nuanced. What we've found is that the vast majority of ad block users, close to 80%, are actually okay with receiving a lighter ad experience that does not interrupt their browsing journey. Interestingly enough, about 80% of ad block users also consistently rate ad block walls to be an annoyance. Personally, I find it strange that publishers continue to arm wrestle these users into giving up their ad blocker when they very clearly don't want to. So our solution benefits users because it allows them to consume content on their favorite websites and therefore support the publishers who create that content without interrupting them or making undue demands on them to change their browsing habits. The second party that benefits from this exchange is, of course, the publishers, who are in fact our direct customers. Blockthrough enables them to meaningfully engage their ad block users and generate incremental revenue without the need to retool their entire ad serving infrastructure or change the fundamental nature of the relationship with their users.
That makes a lot of sense. So now we sort of understand a little bit what you guys are doing, who you're serving. Now, what I'm curious about is the people that you just mentioned, right? How do they find the product? Like, how do they, start hearing about Blockthrough? How do they get started? Maybe tell me a little bit about the customer acquisition channels.
Yeah, okay. So, we invest a lot in inbound marketing, which means publishing educational blog posts, running a monthly newsletter, developing new case studies, and producing the annual report on ad blocking that I was talking about. All these initiatives are rooted in the belief that we must create an environment for our prospects to learn more about what we do on their own terms and in their own time. The second way that our clients find us is by hearing directly from our publisher development team or meeting them at events. We have slowly, meticulously built a list of target accounts that we know are great candidates for using our technology. And when it comes to ad blocking, we often have a better idea about how much revenue these companies are losing than their own internal teams. We also have a strong network of advisors, including industry leaders in the ad tech space. Most of our advisors are more than happy to facilitate warm introductions to people that our publisher development team wants to speak with. Finally, our long-term customers frequently refer new prospects to us. These referrals carry a lot of weight because in the B2B space, there's nothing that buyers value more than the opinion and validation of their peers.
Yeah, that gives us an insight about the journey that you're going through. We've talked actually a little bit about your services already, so I think that gives us a very clear, because you very succinctly described that, and the growth strategy we covered now here when you describing the channels. Maybe can you tell me a little bit more about sort of the future? Like what do businesses like yours have to do if they want to bring the customer journey to the next level? Because obviously getting to know Blockthrough is a bit of a journey. What do you think businesses like yours have to do to bring the customer journey to the next level?
Yeah. So in our space, what we find is that no two publishers have the exact same technology stack. So we have to approach all new integrations with a clean slate and make sure that the discovery process is thorough and covers everything needed for an easy onboarding experience. I think this applies to any technology company that's selling a customized solution to other companies. So to take the customer journey to the next level, teams have to internally codify all the different types of integration paths and get really good at selecting the most expedient one very early on in the sales process. I think we've gotten really good at doing that.
That's very cool. So that gives us a really a good sense of where it's going to be heading. Now, as we sort of slowly approaching the end of the interview, I would love to learn a little bit more about your journey as a marketer with Blockthrough. Like, I know you've been in interesting roles, prior to, but also with Blockthrough, you've been, taking on different marketing angles for the company. What advice would you give yourself if you would restart today in that position?
If I restarted at Blockthrough, I think the advice that I would give myself would be to not be too afraid of new challenges. A few months after I joined, I was tasked with producing our annual ad block report. This was an industry report that I previously read and admired for its level of detail and analysis. That time gave me quite a few sleepless nights because I knew that I had big shoes to fill. It became a little more manageable as I started building the report piece by piece. And I'm glad that I went through that experience and was actually, in the end, able to produce something that I feel proud of.
Very good. Now, as we're basically approaching the end of the interview, I want to give you the very last question, right? If somebody, would be forgetting all that we discussed about Blockthrough today, what's the one thing that they should remember?
Oh, one thing. Difficult to pick one thing because there are so many, but okay, I think if I had to pick one thing, it would probably be the fact that Blockthrough solution is essentially a free money proposition. Most technology or B2B companies require some kind of upfront investment from their prospects, either as a fixed monthly cost, setup fee, engineering time, or something like that. And then the customer has to square those costs with the value that they're getting in return. In contrast, from day one, Blockthrough puts the revenue back in the hands of publishers, revenue that they can use to fuel their growth or simply use as a cushion against market volatility or mitigating revenue risks originating from other sources.
I really appreciate you took the time with us today to give an overview about Blockthrough. Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathmark Presents.
Thank you so much for having me, Lucas. It was great chatting with you.